I've been thinking about apologies lately, and I think we've quietly changed what they're for. I don't think a lot of people apologize because they finally understand what they did. I think a lot of people apologize because they can't stand feeling like the person who did it. There's a difference. Think about how fast an apology turns into an explanation. I wasn't thinking. I was busy. I was stressed. I didn't mean it like that. Yet, nobody even asked, and the explanation just comes out. Why? Because you're trying to protect something, the image of yourself. You need them to know you're not a bad person. You need them to understand your intentions before they get a chance to tell you what your actions did to them. And context matters. Of course it does. Maybe you were stressed. Maybe you were angry. Maybe you were dealing with something they didn't know about. But maybe, just maybe, there's a difference between giving context and using context to reduce your responsibility. Sometimes an explanation is honest. Sometimes it's just a defense that learned how to sound vulnerable. Because while they're trying to explain what they experienced, you're trying to explain why they shouldn't see you differently. You're having two different kinds of conversations. They're talking about what happened to them, and you're talking about what kind of person you believe you are. That's why apologies become so strange, because the person who caused the pain starts asking the person who was hurt to reassure them. And that's just, what? That's messed up. I'm not a terrible person, right? You know I would never do anything to hurt you. You know I care. Now the person carrying what happened has another job. They have to manage your guilt, and they have to make sure you don't feel misunderstood. They have to remind you why you're still good, yet trying to figure out why somebody good would do something like that to them. But here's the problem. Intentions don't erase experiences. You can have good intentions and still leave somebody carrying something because of you. You can love somebody and still damage your trust. You can care about someone and still make them feel small. You can say you never meant for it to happen, but it still happened. What you meant exists in your head. What they experienced happened in real life. Those two things can both be true, and then something interesting happens. A few days, a few weeks, a few months down the road, they're still hurt because of you. They still bring it up. Maybe they're quieter around you. Maybe they don't feel the same way around you. Maybe the relationship doesn't feel normal, and now you're frustrated. I already apologized. We already talked about this. What else do they want me to do? Listen to what just happened. You hurt someone, and now their healing has become inconvenient for you. Your apology had a timeline, and you were willing to be sorry so long as they recovered on your schedule. You gave them an apology, and somewhere in your mind you expected something back. Forgiveness, trust, another chance, the old version of the relationship. You started treating the apology like a payment, like once the words left your mouth, the debt should just disappear. But apology isn't a receipt. It doesn't prove the damages have been repaired. It only proves for at least one moment you were willing to admit the damages existed. Have you ever noticed how quickly people start measuring someone's healing? A few days go by, a couple of weeks maybe, and then the questions start coming in. Are we good? Are you still upset? When are we going to let this go? Those questions don't always come from concern. Sometimes they come from impatience. You're not asking whether they're okay. You're asking when you get to stop feeling the consequences of your own actions. And maybe that's why so many apologies feel unfinished, because they never really were about repairing the relationship. They were about getting rid of the guilt, and guilt wants relief. Accountability wants change. Guilt says, I feel terrible about what I did. Accountability says, what am I doing differently now? Those can sound similar at first. They aren't. A person can cry, lose sleep, hate themselves for it, and still do it again. Feeling bad is not the same as becoming different. Sometimes feeling bad becomes another way to keep the attention on yourself. Now the entire conversation is about how hard you regret it, how hard this has been for you, how badly you want to fix it. And the person you hurt is sitting there, watching your pain become the center of what you did to them. There's another part about apologies that doesn't get talked about enough. Sometimes you don't apologize when you finally understand the harm. Sometimes you apologize when you finally feel the consequences. When they stop answering, when they leave, when they become distant, when they stop giving you access to them, and suddenly an apology becomes urgent. And maybe you are sorry, but maybe it's worth asking what you're sorry for. Are you sorry they were hurt? Or are you sorry that their pain finally changed your life? Would the apology have come if they stayed? Would you have reflected this deeply if they kept accepting your behavior? Would you still be promising to change if nothing had been taken away from you? That's uncomfortable, but I think it matters so much. Because losing access to somebody can make regret feel like accountability. It can make desperation look like growth. You may genuinely miss them, and you may genuinely hate what you did, but wanting the consequence reversed doesn't automatically mean you understand the harm. Here's the part people hate hearing. A sincere apology doesn't earn forgiveness. It doesn't earn trust. It doesn't get you another chance. It doesn't buy back the old version of the relationship just because you finally understand what you did. They're allowed to believe your apology and still leave. They're allowed to see that you've become a different person and decide they don't want to be close enough to find out. They're allowed to forgive you without giving you access to them again. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same decision. And sometimes the consequence of becoming a better person is accepting the fact that the person you hurt won't be around to see that version of you. You may become everything they once needed from you after they no longer need you at all. That's brutal, but maybe that's what accountability actually looks like. Not changing because you want them back, not changing so they'll tell you you're a better person, changing because you finally become honest enough to admit you never want to be that version of yourself again. Even if nobody applauds it, even if nobody sees it, even if the relationship is over. Because becoming better today doesn't rewrite yesterday. It doesn't make the damage disappear, it only decides whether yesterday becomes a pattern. So before you apologize, ask yourself one question. If they never forgive me, if they never trust me again, if they never come back, would I still want to become a better person? Because if the answer is no, maybe the apology was never meant for them.